Welcome to the Sidehustle Lounge. If you're looking for flexible ways to earn income, grow your mindset, and live the lifestyle you've always dreamed of, you're in the right place. So lower the lights, grab your favorite beverage, and join your host, founder of NotaryCoach.com and Amazon best-selling author of Sign and Thrive, How to Make Six Figures as a Mobile Notary and Loan Signing Agent, Bill Soroka.
And now part 2 of some of Bill's favorite interview moments from the last year on the Sidehustle Lounge podcast.
So I did a few of those over the course of my career. And then after Dad passed away, I told my wife, I said, this would be good for some grocery money. Just, $150 here or whatever, and get us a couple weeks worth of groceries there. And then it started paying for the car payment, and then it started paying for the house. And, it was crazy. It grew and grew as I put more time into it. Registered the domain KentuckyNotary.net. Thought I needed a vanity number, so I snagged 833 Got Notary. I love my 800 number. It works. People call it. So that kind of came together. I read Brenda Stone's article on Notary.net about forming a statewide network. It hit me like a bolt of lightning. And so I formed the statewide network, which has been good in theory and concept. It's the virus hit, and we've not been marketing for our network like I envisioned. But having set the blog up there and the Google My Business page and getting some Google reviews, I've noticed that we start ranking on the first page of Google for some pretty neat keywords. Kentucky Remote Online Notary being one of those. And so, it's kind of all come together. I don't know if it was for a reason or not, but you just kind of find your way later in life. And this is where I am. I'm okay with my station in life. I'm okay with being a 2% attorney right now. I don't really make, at my age, I don't feel like I have to apologize to anyone. That's one of the great things of getting a little older. Your skin gets a little thicker, and you realize what's important in life is your family and your loved ones, your family and your friends. And just that it's not all about money. But I found that pursuing something that I enjoy doing, the money's come after that. It's kind of taking care of itself. So it's been really neat. And, I mentioned Mark, but the role you've played in my success, you have no idea, Bill. It just amazes me that we've never shaking hands. You're going to get a huge bear hug one day when we meet in person. I'm probably going to tackle you because I took your course with all intentions of canceling in 7 days with your free trial, because everybody does that. Right? That's the whole purpose, right? That's why you put it up there like that. So I said, I'll look this over. And 25 years as a notary, or, at least nearly that much at that point. And I got into it, and I was like, wow, there's a little bit more to this than I thought. And there's a certain way you want to do things. There's certain things you don't want to do. And I learned a lot through your course. And I said, give that man his money. I said, pay the man, So signed up for your first month, paid you loyally for many years, and finally pulled the trigger, which I should have done. I don't know when you first offered it. I don't know why I didn't do it, but I'm so proud to be a lifetime member of the Sign and Thrive community. You're just a godsend to the notaries and the people that you help, Bill. The way that you show up is inspirational to me. I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I mean, you know, obviously we hadn't met or whatever, but it's neat. You've inspired me to do more than just close a loan. And you've inspired me to mentor people. We've got over 100 people in our Kentucky notary Facebook group. You know, it's kind of an internal thing. It's not one of those big national groups or whatever. We've got a real tight knit group, and so I've got a neat community, a lot of networking going on, a lot of neat people that I've reached out to, and I probably would never have found them without hooking up with you first. So just want to really appreciate you having me on, and gives me the opportunity to thank you in public. So just thank you.
Well, thank you, John.
Third-party sellers is their third leg. They've got AWS, they've got the Prime program, and third-party selling. That's Amazon in a nutshell. So if you're not involved in the third-party selling program, you have decided not to partner with one of the largest companies in the world to work with a program that exists nowhere else.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. So how does it work?
All right. So the way we do it, and this has evolved over time, but it's basically the exact same thing we've been doing since 2009, right? Is we'll go out and we'll find suppliers, wholesale distributors. There's about 265,000 of them in the United States. And you want to find the ones that are willing to work with online sellers, specifically Amazon sellers, and will sell to you at a price that you can make a profit at. So let's say I find a pet supply seller. I'll use Bradley Caldwell as an example. They're a large pet supply wholesaler. So you contact Bradley Caldwell and you open an account with them, a wholesale distribution account. They're going to sell to you at wholesale. They're going to give you a list of everything they have for sale. You know, they're basically going to say, here, you can buy anything we have on this list. This is what we sell currently, and it'll have your price. So what we do is we take that file and we run it through software. And the software, we call it Wholesale Inspector, the software. And it analyzes every single one of those products in real time against the Amazon marketplace and brings back 40 different data points that are then all crunched and put through one of our proprietary algorithms to tell you what you should buy. The most profitable stuff that's going to turn the fastest. And this is why when people actually see this in action, they don't believe it because that part looks too easy, you know. But the thing is sure. I didn't always have this software. All right, you picture me sitting in a freezing warehouse, going one by one, analyzing a product, you know, trying to find out of a list of 18,000 what I should buy. I mean, you'd have to go through hundreds of products that just weren't profitable to find.
Yeah, lots of trial and error.
Yeah, so that was a pain in the ass. and I'm basically a lazy guy, which just means I find the easiest way to do stuff, you know. Mm-hmm. And so I said, I gotta get some software. So way back in the day, and this was even before Amazon, I just needed to do this product research. I think I hired a programmer out of Serbia, paid him maybe $800. And he gave me a program that would go out and do this market research. But if I loaded up 500 products to research, I'd have to come back the next day for the results. It was so slow. Now our program, Wholesale Inspector, it'll do 50, 60,000 products a minute analyzing. Wow. So it's just literally boom, which is another reason why we made it look way too easy, because we have almost $300,000 in development on that program. So it better look easy, I guess.
Right.
So once you figure out what you should buy, all right, you then actually buy it. And we train to use 3PLs. If you're going to buy from like Bradley Caldwell, and let's say they're shipping out of Ohio, go find a logistics company in Ohio to accept that load, inspect it, prep it for Amazon, and then ship it down to your FBA account. This way you don't have to touch or see a product if you don't want to, which means literally you could do it anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Wow. And what was fascinating to me too, and you called it this, as far as those products go, I think people, well, at least I did. I kept thinking, what's the new and greatest product? What's the new and greatest product? What's the one that's going to be expensive or at this price point? But your software, when it spits out those 40 pieces of data on what are the most profitable products, what do those products look like? It's the unsexy stuff. What's that mean?
Yeah, unsexy products. Unsexy products. Well, all right, let me put it to you this way. Any Momo can go into Amazon and pull up their 100 bestseller list, right? And this is how people generally do it. And this is why selling on Amazon gets a bad name, right? So Joe doesn't know what he's doing, goes onto Amazon, pulls down the 100 bestsellers and says, oh, these are the products I need to be selling. He then spends all his time trying to find distribution for those products. And when he does kind of trip across it, it's at a price he can't make a product at. And therefore he gets on Facebook and says, yeah, you can't make any money selling on Amazon. I just proved it. Fuck you. You know, this is the people that just, I don't know. It's crazy. Someone will see that on a Facebook feed and go, oh yeah, okay, you can't make money selling on Amazon. And it just grinds me because it causes somebody who would have been really good at this to get knocked off a center. And that pisses me off more than anything. This is why in my members only Facebook group, we don't have many rules, and I hate censorship overall. But the one rule I have is no negativity. No negativity, because you never know what's coming out of your mouth, how it's going to affect somebody else. And I don't think you would want to be responsible for knocking somebody else off centered with a remark that's toxic and not even true. And then all of a sudden you've planted a seed of doubt in their head. We like to keep things positive. We want to make sure we're hanging out with people that are like-minded, that are trying to do the same thing you're trying to do, and no negativity. Because negativity, there's no place for negativity in an entrepreneurial journey. People
totally agree.
Yeah, you're going to have failures, you're going to make mistakes, but you have to keep going. And people ask me all the time, you know, why do they think I have been as successful as I have? And by the way, the financial side of it is just part of it. I think real true success is this time freedom, being able to control your schedule, being able to do what you want when you want, right? Not because you have to or a boss is telling you. So anyway, the biggest thing I think that people need to keep in mind is their attitude. People, you know, when we talk to people about mindset and they don't want to hear about it, are the ones that need to hear about it the most.
I think so many people get caught up. They think, oh, if I have to make money or if I have to run a business, it's going to have some hardship or it's going to be a burden or that's just the way life is. But it doesn't have to be that way.
Definitely
it can
not.
be fun and make you money.
Exactly.
Right. Well, tell me what led to you even starting an online business, and then, well, let's start there and then we'll move into the writing component.
Yeah, sure. So 2011, let's cast our minds back to what that looked like. So 2011, I was working full time. And I just remember, you know, on this side of the world, we have our kind of summer holidays are over the Christmas, New Year break because it's summer. And I remember coming back to work after having, you know, 3 solid weeks off and just feeling pretty ill about going back to work. And to the point where I, you know, TMI guys, if you're listening, you know, to the point where I was actually physically sick. Getting up and going to work in the morning. And I was like, okay, this is probably not how I want to continue my life. And so it really just set me on a journey of, okay, well, what's possible? I knew that I didn't want to just find another job and in 3 years' time be faced with exactly the same kind of scenario, because I'd already rinsed and repeated this type of scenario about 3 times in the last decade. So 2011 was the year that I really went, okay, now is the time to make a different decision and not continue to keep repeating the same thing and expecting a different outcome. And so I really just explored lots of different options. I spent a lot of time researching and looking online and landed on freelancing. So freelancing is basically, you're still trading time for dollars, but you are now in full control of your time. And for me, that was the first step. Was I wanted to be able to go to the gym when I wanted to. I wanted to be able to take a 2-hour lunch and not have to be back at an office just because my boss told me that that's what I had to do. I wanted to start work early, finish work early. I just wanted full control of my time. And freelance writing was the thing that I felt was what I could do. And so in August 2011 is when I started doing that as a side hustle. So I still was working full time and I was freelance writing on the side. But by June 2012, I quit my job and I have not looked back. That was the last time that I worked full time as an employee. And it has been a wild ride since then.
I can only imagine. But do you see there's any way of going back? Any regrets?
Oh, no regrets. Certainly in terms of the last 10 years, you make mistakes, but that's how you learn. So I certainly wouldn't change any of that. I might have done a few things a lot differently, but then again, who I am and kind of my personality and the way that I work, I don't know that I could have done it any differently because I thrive under pressure and I need a kind of pressure cooker situation for me to kind of make leaps and bounds forward. I'm not someone, even though I am super organized and super planned, I can plan things out, but unless I have a really hard and fast deadline, I will just pretty much leave things to the last minute, which is super interesting when you hear about how many books I've written and what that looks like. We can unpack that in a second.
Yeah, well, I can't wait. In fact, I think that's a perfect segue there. We were joking before we started recording. I lost count looking at all the books you have written and published on Amazon.
Yeah, so I think I have lost count myself because contrary to popular belief, I'm not sitting there counting my books, but I think I'm around the 33 mark. I'm working on my 34th book at the moment. I believe it might be 35. I'm not sure because I've done a couple of co-authored books as well, and I always forget about those ones. So yeah, it's either 34 or 35 that I'm coming up to. So yeah, I just, I've been writing books since 2014 and no special degree. I want to highlight that, even going into freelance writing, I had no writing degree. And I want to kind of let you know that you don't need a writing degree. And I'm not saying that anyone listening to this who does have a writing degree, that means that I'm better than you are. It's nothing to do with that. I believe when it comes to nonfiction in particular, because that's what I write, that if you are truly here to help somebody and you have the ability to share your knowledge, whether you have a writing degree or not doesn't change that. It's more about learning how to communicate that information in a way that makes sense to the person reading it.
How can somebody who's listening right now say, yeah, this is a viable business? Do you need one client or do you need 1,000 clients? Like, how much do these companies pay for service like this?
Well, they pay good money because it is an important service. If you think about it, it's a clean, litter-free property is the first image or first thing that anybody will notice when they pull into a property before they even get inside the building.
I know I do.
Yeah, and you're going to notice, besides, whether the grass is cut, is there weeds in the property, they're going to notice how much litter is around. Are the common area litter containers in front of the businesses, are they overflowing? Is there garbage all over the sidewalk? Things like that. But basically, it varies across the country as to how much you can charge, like a lot of services. But we're charging anywhere from $30 to $60 an hour. And so you base your price on the time you estimate it would take to walk the property and clean it. And so you present your prospects or your clients with an estimate to maintain their property on a certain frequency basis. They may ask for 5 days a week. It could be 3 days a week. The whole point of the service is to keep the properties litter-free. So you're not going in just once a week and cleaning up an accumulation. And then you just bill your clients accordingly at the end of each month for the services, whatever contract price you both have agreed upon, whether it be $350 a month or $3,500 a month, depending on the size and the frequency of your service.
Awesome. Thank you for that candid answer. What keeps popping into my head is, man, if you wanted to get your steps in every day on your pedometer, this would be the right gig for you, because you could stack. I mean, how many clients what's the most amount of clients you personally have stacked into one day?
Oh, well, I guess my Mondays would be my busiest day, because, I service some properties 5 days a week and others, 3 days a week. So Mondays are typically the busiest. So I used to put in a full hour of, a full day's work, 8 hours. And I could, when I was younger, I could probably do about 22, 23 buildings in one day. Because keep in mind, most of these properties are small to medium size. They're not the massive, big box developments or, the indoor shopping malls. They typically are done in-house. They have their own people on site. But there are far more of these small to medium-sized properties all over the city. And so, you can knock them off in, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And the more properties you have, the less driving time between each property. But, we've got people that, maybe do 2 or 3 or 4 buildings, every day, maybe a couple hours, 2-3 hours a day. And, that's a great way to make an extra $2,000-$3,000 a month, basically going for an early morning walk.
Yeah, no kidding. So what about oversaturation? If you're teaching people how to do this, they're in every city. How would one of my listeners differentiate themselves in the conversation?
Well,
to get their foot in the door.
Everyone approaches or markets the business a bit differently. I mean, it's my business model is no different than if, someone is selling a landscaping franchise or a janitorial franchise. I mean, if you do a search, you'll find wherever you're located in any city across the country, there's literally tons of competition that you would think, for office cleaning or landscapers. My service might be provided by the sweeping contractor, like you were mentioning earlier, but they don't actually provide the service with their sweeper. They might provide an on-foot service as well. Or the same thing with maybe a large cleaning company. They might offer a service that they call a day portering service, which is something similar, but it's still different. So there's always some competition. So it basically, I have the information in the book and I show people how to, do prospecting and how to market your services, et cetera. And basically, you have my support. I do provide free support as well, because it works. Yeah. It works, and if it didn't work, I couldn't make that offer.
Dorie, before we dive in too much, I want to just talk about whether or not you think making 6 figures as a loan signing agent is real. And maybe even go back before the pandemic, because the pandemic was a huge boon for us. But before that, was making 6 figures possible as a loan signing agent?
Yes, it's absolutely possible. It takes a lot of dedication and hard work, and you really have to know your why, and you really have to be a good relationship builder to make 6 figures. It's not easy. Pre-pandemic, it was a lot of hustle, and so it seems so easy with the rates being so low and everything's crazy. But really, I had to hit that pavement, meet and greet, kiss babies, shake hands, go into title companies and really sell my personality, my service. I made a lot of mistakes when I first started, and I had to eat crow and pick up my bootstraps and go again. And
well, you really threw a lot at us right there in that like one little paragraph, and I love that. Let's unpack that a little bit, if it's all right with you.
Absolutely.
And the reason I wanted to talk about pre-pandemic hustle, as you put it a little earlier before we started recording, is that during the pandemic, when interest rates were super low, there was, I think in March of 2020, there was almost this fear of like, okay, well, maybe we'll shut our businesses down. Maybe people are not going to be buying homes or refinancing, but it was the exact opposite. So it went huge. People were buying homes because money was so cheap. They were refinancing. So literally a new loan signing agent could roll out of bed and probably make $5,000 to $10,000 a month without having to try really hard. But that's not real in this business, and it doesn't last forever. So that's why I wanted to go back to pre-pandemic hustle. And what you talked about was, number one, you said it's not easy, but you have to be really clear on your why. Can you tell us what you mean by that and why is so important?
Absolutely. So your why has to be big, because there can be so much discouragement, especially if you're a perfectionist. I struggled with that a lot at the beginning. I would beat myself up if I made one little mistake or missed a stamp or whatever it was. Oh my gosh, I would eat myself alive just with the head chatter. And so I really had to understand why I was doing all of this and why I wanted to be in this business. For me, it made me feel good to get dressed up, get out there, meet people. And the people, they're happy to see you. They're closing their loan. They're getting a better rate. They're getting a new house. So all of these things create this excitement, and you get this high when you're first starting and going in to do loan signings, because it just feels really great. And it helped me out of a funk. It helped me feel important. But even before that, it took a lot of courage for me to market myself and to get out there. My first loan signing probably took 2 hours, and I had no idea what I was doing. I probably overstamped the pages. And so looking back at that, oh my goodness, the lady was so patient with me. But I didn't have mentorship. I didn't have anybody to coach me through that. I had a book where I learned how to do, it was a huge binder, like probably 3 inches thick, that I received in the mail. And I was told to get that binder by an escrow officer friend of mine who actually encouraged me to get into the industry. She thought I would be good at it. And apparently I am. But I had no idea. I had no idea what I was sitting on. And so I got the binder, and it took an entire year before I even opened it.
You said find some winners. And what keeps going through my head is, how much freedom do you have to create? And what is it that you're trying to create on these mugs that people would buy?
So that's a great question. First of all, the answer to the first part of your question, you have the full freedom to do whatever it is that you want to do with that, right? So we start on Etsy just because Etsy is less competition. It's easier. There's more people there looking for handmade products, which they consider this a handmade product. Okay. The only holdback is the fact that it's going to cost you 20 more cents for everything you put up there. All right. So, okay. That's the only thing.
Manageable. Yeah.
But the rest of that question is, just kind of like, first of all, there's no holdback, so you can do whatever it is. And I'm forgetting what the other part of the question was now that I said all that.
How do you find a winner? How do you decide what's on the mug? Yeah.
What we do is, I always say that success leaves clues. All right. So you can go out there and see what people are doing well with. All right. You mentioned winners, right? So we can go out and see what other people's winners are. All right. And it's something that I teach in my course. I work with my students and I show them exactly how to find winners. Now, we got to make sure that we're very clear about something here. Some people think that finding winners is, let's go ahead and copy those winners. Okay, we're not going to copy other people. Like I said, we live in an abundant world. We don't have to copy exactly someone else's intellectual property, though we can utilize their success to make something similar design, a similar message on the mug, something like that, and create that so it will come across. It'll be actually different than what the other person that was doing well with. And other people, what I say is, there's a lot of customers that will like different things. So if I were to lay out, like if we don't have any video here today, but if we were to put a video and I had a slide of 3 different mugs and we took a poll of everyone that's listening to this podcast right now and said, hey, which one of those 3 would you pick, A, B, or C? It would probably be pretty even across the board. That someone like the first one, some like the second, some like the third. You and I might like something totally different. So to give to give the customers options, that's actually a good thing. All right. So we're really not stepping on the shoes of someone else, even though the message might be the same or the design might be similar. But we're giving more options out there to the marketplace. All right. So we're not copying, but we're copying the idea, seeing that it markets well to that niche of people. All right. And then we go ahead and put something out there. So if I were to break it down as an example for you, we could talk about how, we've gone through this, and some people will say we're still in it. I like to think we're beyond it, but let's talk about like pandemic, right? And what we went through during that time, or sometimes people are still going through this, right? We went through a lockdown. We went through a toilet crisis. We went through, vaccinations and, people losing their jobs, whatever. I don't like to make fun of that because some of that, we don't want to make light of some of that. Some of that stuff was pretty serious. Some people, we lost people, some people might have lost a very close loved one. Now, with that being said, we can put messages out there that people will relate to, that they went through a time or they're going through a time. And when it came to the pandemic, there was a lot of different designs on mugs that sold amazingly. And for example, I'm looking at one right now. Actually, I'm drinking at one. You can't see me, those of you listening to this call, but it was specifically about somebody. So like a boss, a friend, a mom, a dad. And it says, this one is a friend like you is harder to find than toilet paper during a pandemic. All right. That sold like crazy. All right. And all we did, we made it unique. Some people had the same kind of thing. We used different fonts. We used different little images on there and whatnot. And it related to different people. And it took off. Now, I'm hoping that this design stops selling because I don't want to be in a pandemic anymore or have anything to do with it. But as long as people are still buying stuff, we'll put it up there for sale.
I love that. So we've talked about cash flow management. We've talked about goals and being aware of them and keeping up with them, and then our actions needed. We also talked a little bit about taxes and planning. What would you say is number 4?
Making the decision to do the action. I have found many times that we don't make the decision to do the action once we become aware of all the things that we do. And knowledge without action is not going to make us successful.
Totally worthless, right?
Totally worthless. So action is the key. So what I have found is my motivation level to act will change based on my life circumstance. So if I'm really busy in my business, I may not be as motivated to act on other things because my time is distracted. If I've got a personal issue going on, I may not be as motivated because I'm distracted. So that's where I found that having that professional relationship or that accountability partner is really important because they're going to keep that motivation up even when we're going through our life stages and ups and downs so that our actions don't stop.
That's huge. So the accountability partner or the professional is a key ingredient to that, right?
It is. Absolutely.
What do you say to those, so many people that are listening, I know are committed. They've got a dream or a vision that's bigger than them. They've got a compelling why that has to do with their family, taking care of their family, taking care of their kids, helping organizations that they're passionate about. In other words, their legacy.
Yeah.
What do you have? What suggestions do you have for leaving a legacy of wealth and abundance?
Yeah, absolutely. We all are doing everything because we have a greater purpose, and we want to go ahead and leave a legacy behind. So legacy planning comes in two ways. One, during our accumulation years, if suddenly something happened to us where we're no longer able to do our side hustles because we're not able to because of mental health issues, physical health issues, a disability, then that's going to create economic damage for the people that are dependent upon us. If we die prematurely, that's going to create economic damage on the people that are dependent on us. So during our accumulation years, we really have to look at legacy planning in the form of protection planning. How do we protect the people that we care about the most in the event that something unforeseen happens? And that's where insurance planning comes into play. And, typically as business owners, we are eternal optimists. So we don't like to plan for what's going to happen if things go wrong. But this is mission critical. And the best analogy I've been able to come up with is that whenever you have a sports team line up, let's just say a regular football team, they're always going to have an offense and a defense. So if you have the best offense in the world and every time they line up, they're scoring touchdowns left and right, but you have the worst defense on the planet as well, it's not going to matter because the other team, even if their offense is mediocre, is going to keep scoring the same number of points. And you're not going to get anywhere. So the planning, the goal planning, the cash flow management, the tax planning, the investment planning, the motivating decision to act, this is our offense. But we could do all those things right and an unforeseen event could happen. We need that defense in place. So that's how I ask to think about protection planning. But once we have accumulated wealth, then we need to also think about, well, what is our legacy going to be? And that's where estate planning is really critical. And if we don't have an estate plan in place and we die and we're married, more than likely everything's going to go to our significant other, our spouse. But if we're not married or we both die, as in you and your spouse, everything's going to go through probate. And depending on what state you live, it could be a really difficult process. And there could be heavy fees associated with it.
Yeah, so it's expensive too.
Absolutely, it's expensive. And so that's where having a living trust in which you've gotten a chance to really think about what your legacy is going to be is important. And I have found that this is an area that we tend to have an off switch. When we start thinking about our mortality, something in our head turns off and we change subjects. And the older we get, what I have found, the off switch gets more powerful and our tendency to avoid gets more. So this is something that I think is healthy, that we should be thinking about our legacy.
Thank you so much for listening to the Side Hustle Lounge podcast. If you follow me on Instagram and social media, you already know that my pets play a huge role in my life, and I include them as part of the family. They are part of my why. Dexter and Violet bring so much joy and love into my life that I always want to make sure that they are well tended to and healthy. That's where my Toto pet insurance policy comes in. Toto was voted Best Pet Insurance Company in 2021 by Forbes Advisor, and it's known as the pet insurance company with a heart and without the gotchas. There's no network of obscure vets that I'm forced to choose from, so I get to pick my pet's doctor. And then, depending on the policy I select, I can be reimbursed up to 90% of the vet bill. And they make it easy to use. You visit any vet, you submit a claim, you get cash back. It's pet insurance, finally done right. If you'd like to support the show, get coverage for your own fur babies, and maybe even give yourself some peace of mind at the same time, get an instant quote today on Toto's easy-to-use website at sidehustlelounge.com/Toto. That's Toto.